Hello, how are you all today? We're great. We're going to talk about how do you see yourself different? That's a tough one. What does it feel like to be you? Does that feel comfortable, or do you even know what we mean? I know when I first got started thinking about what I really wanted out of my life, and my decisions were just a little bit different, but they were more me. I expressed myself more me. And I found it was easier, it was more comfortable, and I started to feel comfortable in my own skin. And that, you can't replace that. That money can't pay for that. And when you start feeling like you are doing you, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it.
Yep.
There is nothing like it. So this is a question that we have for you. What does it feel like to be you?
And do you even know what that feels like? And if you don't, you just sit with that for a minute. Sink into that. And how do you want to handle a situation? Maybe you want a little extra courage, asking for help with something, you know what I mean? Or talking to your husband about a topic that you've been putting off. That's
uncomfortable with.
Yes. And that's having the 5 seconds of courage to be like, you know what, this is really on my mind, and I need to get this off my chest, because that's you too. And then that will just open your heart more. And that's really being you, is living from your highest and best and from your heart, and everything works out when you make that decision.
Well, and everybody around you that you thought was going to reject you do just the opposite.
Yeah.
They all accept you, and I didn't know that was bothering you.
You finally know that it's, you finally don't care what they think. You get to that point where you don't care.
Yeah, but I feel like that's later on.
Well, that is later on, but I'm jumping ahead. You finally are like, you're okay with once you develop you're finally okay with being you, and you don't have the same perception of using your voice like with your husband, or your boss. You let it all kind of fall.
True.
I'm jumping ahead though. I know I am.
Yeah, but as you go along and you see that people are glad to hear what you have to say, that's where that courage really starts to build, and you can start to see they are glad I brought it up, because nobody thought about it. They don't dislike me.
We were all here to be our unique expression of ourselves, and the thought of keep dumbing down for generations after generations is absolutely ridiculous. Nobody gets to know anyone.
Right.
No one gets to know you if you can't say, well, actually I do agree with that. Actually, I don't agree with that. We were taught to really be agreeable, but it's not helping at all, because then nobody really knows you, because if you're agreeing and you don't really agree, that's not really you, right?
Right.
So it doesn't serve a purpose for somebody to know you.
Right.
And the whole thing is, no one has the same eyes, no one has the same nose, no one has the same anything. And it was the point, and it's way more fun when you get to know somebody and be like, oh, okay, you don't like that? That's cool. I agree or I don't agree. And then there's a clearing.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to think that other people have to agree with you. You don't have to think that you need to address everything they say. You can step back a little bit and say, I'm going to think about that. Just like Audra brought up, you have a talk with your husband. Honey, I want to talk to you about something. And then you find out he goes, oh my gosh, you should have let me know that. I didn't realize
years
that.
ago, I didn't even know that.
And then they're so pleased that you brought it to them, and that they want to honor you. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We've got this all turned around.
Yes.
And people even want to honor you.
Yes. And I have a lot of clients that are dating, and that they're still in that pleasing mode, or that pedestal mode of putting that person on a pedestal. The problem is, when you put somebody on a pedestal, you're never going to communicate properly that they know you. It's always going to be you working harder to try to get to know them, and they don't even have a clue of who you are.
Yeah.
When you're pleasing, when you're fixing, when you're going along, maybe he expects dinner all the time being made, and that's not even you, but since you're dating and it's new, you go ahead and you make dinner. But what happens when 9 months down the road, you're like, oh my God, I don't even like making dinner.
You didn't realize that you were making a different version of yourself. That's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
getting to know who you are.
Yes.
Pleasing is one thing. Doing it as a activity is different.
Yeah, but a lot of the girls dating, they're not doing it as an activity. They're doing it for approval, so he'll like me, so he thinks I'm the wifey.
Or he expects it because that's what we were growing up with. Yep.
But still, my point is, you're not you. You're used to going out and getting stuff and already prepping meals versus making everything homemade and from scratch. But he wants it from scratch, so you go ahead and do it. But that's not necessarily the you. I mean, like once in a while, you make concessions or whatever. But if he's the type where you're going to cook every night and clean.
With the law.
Yes. And you go along with that, that's not you.
Right.
So then you need to check in and say, how is it serving me to not show up?
And what was I thinking? I was pleasing him, but I didn't realize that I really don't believe that as you start out pleasing, that becomes the law of the land, and it does.
It does.
Well, and the whole thing is they're expecting and you're doing, but neither one of you know because he has no idea that you don't like it, and you have no idea how to tell him.
Right. Then 4 months in, or 6 months in, they're like, well, I thought you were this. I thought you were this. And you guys don't even know each other because you never had the courage to say, yeah, I'm okay with that, or I'm not okay with that, or, let's just be easy about this. This is something I agree with. You have to be talking all the time. And to think that we don't is like ridiculous. You have to say, yeah, I can do this like once in a while, but I'm not the girl that comes and does that every night, or I am the girl. Maybe you could flip it. So I just noticed that talking in relationships, how much we as women still accommodate and not show up as ourselves, and really
that's a definite
need
subconscious behavior.
Yeah,
that's why we talk so much about dropping down into the heart and saying, what do I need to say because I don't like fixing dinner after the first week.
Yeah,
that would be a good example.
Right.
This isn't going to work for me.
Right.
But it's catching it a little sooner.
Yes.
So it's not become a pattern.
Yes.
And you'll know right away if that partner's for you or not.
Yeah, you will. That's how you know if it's the right person or not, because the right person is like, you guys are gonna like blend and do like a figure eight, like you're gonna come back to center all the time. But if it's always one-sided, which a lot of these are, because everyone just thinks that's the way, it's not the way.
Right.
You have got to show up and be your unique self, and we've got to drop this whole
law thing.
That it has to be this way.
The men want to please you just as much as you want to please them, but if they don't know, and then you don't give them the opportunity to know and to pitch in
and slow it down. A lot of people are just rushing to be in a relationship, and it's like, hold on. Slow it down, like be friends and get to know each other first. Let him know who you are. And you want to know who he is. You want to know if he's like the dude that's going to be like, carrying the groceries, or he doesn't mind, changing diapers. You want to know, who he is. So stop pretending you don't know who you are, because a lot of it is pretending, but then generational plus social. So there's a lot to go in there,
in the mix. So we're just asking you to not fix you, but learn who you are.
That's right. And be your unique self and use your voice to show up in kindness and love, and trust your heart. Your heart knows. Your heart knows when you're over giving already, and it's only 2 weeks into this like dating scene, and you're making dinner. First of all, don't make dinner after 2 weeks. I don't care who you are. Go out. Go out to dinner. Stop it. So many women do like, oh, come on over. No, we're not playing house. I'm sorry. That's not who we are.
You've got her take on it.
That is my take on it. And so trust your heart and go out to the restaurant, ladies.
Or have a dinner, but one would do it.
Yes, exactly.
This is not, I'm not forming a pattern. We're
Yes.
doing it this way for fun.
Yes.
And it's not going to
That's
become the
thing that
regular.
when when you are your unique self, it is way more fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Way more fulfilling. It's not
Absolutely.
all this work that I see all of us doing. You know, we're all guilty of it. I was so guilty of it. I mean, I was like, oh, what can I do? You know, instead of, wait, who can I be? Who am I?
What can I be thinking about when it comes to us as a group?
Yeah.
Us as partners, us as parents. It's
Yeah.
always us.
Yeah.
So we have to bring that together instead of, I need to do the without talking,
Right.
without
right.
discussing.
Yeah. It's about having those open conversations. And then the thing when you start off as friends, right, in the relationship, like I have a lot of clients that come in and they're like, well, we've already been like, you know, we're already serious after 30 days. I'm like, oh my goodness, hold on a minute. Do you know who he is? Do you know anything about him? Does he know anything about you? It's like, whoa, what's the rush? Slow it down. Let him, let you be you, let him be him, and see if you guys can build this beautiful relationship and partnership together. There's no rush.
Right, because my clients come in and they're already in it, doing it and saying, well, I don't want to fix it because it's not broken, but I need some insight as to how to maneuver me into it. And that becomes the reigning question.
Yeah.
So we talk about how to look at herself first.
Yeah, it's
See
always,
how she feels.
Yeah.
See where she's coming from.
Yeah.
And making sure that it's her thought, not her mom's or generation. And see, when you get to pick those little things apart and you think, oh, no wonder I'm confused. Yeah, no wonder. Let's get to you. What do you think? What do you want? And nothing else matters.
Yeah. And a lot of the times I have the question, well, did you bring yourself into the relationship, or is it you just made it all about them? Because if you don't bring yourself in, and that's what she's saying, like bring yourself in and be solid in yourself and be okay with just being yourself, then it clears the path so much better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our tidbit on those little things you can do, those little tweaks of just, you know, speaking up, using your voice, choosing
Asking
you.
for peace and quiet and getting into your heart. Because we know that you know when you're feeling off. That is the biggest clue you can have to getting to know yourself.
And if you're blaming him for everything, you know you're off. You know you forgot yourself at the last place you stopped, and you got to go get her and bring her back. Because any blame, any shame, any guilt, any thinking he should, you better get back in your own heart and be like, wait a second, I'm in trouble. I am not listening to myself. I need to show up for myself. And don't make it about him. It's not about him. It never is. And if you can learn that nothing is about anyone else, that it's always about yourself. And even if that pisses you off like nobody's business, because it does at the beginning, but you take responsibility for that, you will shift your entire life and you will have such peace within your heart, and you'll know how to navigate life way better.
Right.
And that's like a perfect sign. If you're blaming, shaming, or guilt about anything.
Judging, that means you're judging everything and you're out of the picture.
Yeah. You've already
yourself in.
Right. You might as well go dig a hole and start digging, because it's like,
and be miserable.
Yeah. So that alone, if you stop that, you'll get the clarity you need, period.
Exactly.
And there's just no need for it anymore. And even stop blaming yourself, judging yourself,
right,
shaming
you're in
yourself.
That judgment
Right.
too. Right.
It's just murky water and you got to get out.
Yep.
So it's a return to love always. It's a return to, we have choices. We can choose courage. We can slow it down.
You're totally free. You are free to be you no matter what.
Yep.
And that's golden.
That is. So take that and run. If you have any questions about this topic, about the relationships, how to handle them, what to do, how to return to you.
How to slow it down.
Yep. Slow it down. Slow it way down. Slow everything down. We're not enjoying life like we could be.
Definitely.
But we will is when we slow it down, especially in these relationships. If it's moving fast, that's a red flag. Slow it down. Wait a second. Where am I going?
Yep.
So enjoy your day and leave comments, leave questions, and we'll talk to you soon.